Hello, my name is Jeremy, and this is Carter, Drew, and Emily, and we are the Bethel University Research Team, and we will be presenting on Tennant Company with a hold recommendation. Looking at the current situation that the company is facing, especially in light of the fourth quarter presentation being released, there are several main points that are very apparent. These are the 7.2% decrease in sales in the EMEA region, the increasingly simplified product portfolio that they offer, the aftermarket and holistic business model that they use, as well as the increasing competitiveness and the automation in that market. Using these main points, our quantitative models, which are guided by our qualitative examinations of the company, gives Tennant a target price of $83.14, which is a 0.86% upside from its current pricing and gives it a hold recommendation.
Founded in 1870, headquartered in Golden Valley, Minnesota, Tennant today employs over 4,300, has a presence in over 100 countries, making them an industry leader in the professional floor cleaning space. Tennant sells 65% of their products through their extensive direct sales unit, with the remaining 35% coming from distributors. Tennant's primary markets are education and healthcare facilities, along with manufacturing and contract cleaners, with sales from large brands such as Walmart, IKEA, and Pepsi. Tennant sells a variety of products, including sweepers and scrubbers, each sold as independent units, sweeper scrubbers sold as a combination into one unit, vacuums, pressure washers, and floor coatings. Tennant achieves 61% of their sales from the Americas, 30% from the EMEA region, and the remaining 9% from the APAC region. Tennant further dissects the revenue into four main parts, with 65% coming from equipment, 20% from parts and consumables, 12% from service, and 3% from floor coatings. Year over year, each segment, excluding floor coatings, has seen positive growth. Tennant, Nilfisk, Karcher, Hakko. These four companies make up just under 60% of the total market size in the compact floor cleaning industry. Furthermore, industry leaders Tennant and Nilfisk have been in existence for more than 100 years, creating a very mature market with little room for new competition. A study done by Grandview Research suggests that the global floor cleaning industry will experience a CAGR of 8.5% from 2019 to 2025, with an increase in demand for premium products and technological advancements as seen as the primary catalyst for this growth. Looking on the graph to your left, you will see that Tennant's sales growth increased dramatically in 2017, primarily due to the largest acquisition yet, and then tapered down in 2018 to 12%, still reflecting heightened sales growth from this acquisition. Comparing these sales growth rates to Nilfisk, you will see that since 2016, they've been experiencing declining growth rates, and in 2018 experienced negative growth.
Our competitive analysis reveals the degree to which the products are different between Nilfisk, Karcher, Hakko, and Tennant is very small. When we talk about the bargaining power of suppliers, BrainCore is the only supplier of Tennant's autonomous software, giving BrainCore a significant amount of leverage in the foreseeable future. The bargaining power of buyers is impacted by large clients such as Walmart, IKEA, and Pepsi, who have control during purchasing negotiations. Our analysis revealed that when we look at competition industry and the threat of new entry, that's an insignificant risk. Tennant's aftermarket and holistic business model strategy is unique. It gives customers the opportunity to trade in old equipment for new Tennant products, creating a full product cycle. Quality materials and product durability is represented by an average 3% R&D expenditure and a gross margin of 39.5%. 30% of Tennant's gross revenue in the last 3 years is from products launched in the last 3 years. In terms of Tennant's goals, Tennant is aiming to reduce the number of product models by 25% by 2021. A streamlined product portfolio gives Tennant an expense management and sales model competitive advantage. H. Chris Killingstad has been the CEO of Tennant for 18 years. A collective 35.5% of common stock is shared between BlackRock, Aramark, and Vanguard. 25% of short-term incentives is attached to total revenue, and 100% of long-term incentives takes the form of equities. Tennant benchmarks its compensation and short-term incentives against 19 different companies that have similar market size and structure.
Over the past 5 years, Tennant has made some key acquisitions that has changed their financial outlook. Most notable are Gaume Cleaning Equipment and IPC, which was their largest ever acquisition of $350 million. IPC has added 9.6% value to the company based on average EPS and sales growth since its acquisition, as well as a more diversified global presence. In addition, however, the structural and cultural context of both companies are still under risk as sales growth may decrease in the next 5 years. The effects of the IPC acquisition and their areas of recovery is seen in our financial analysis. Gross margin has decreased by 360 basis points in 2017 due to an increase in cost of goods sold by 32%. This was mainly due to an increase in freight costs and pressure from tariffs. Organic growth rebounded in 2018 when the company experienced increased volume, mainly due to international growth. Looking forward, our forecast shows steady sales growth and fluctuating EPS over the next 5 years. Our forecast impacted our models, which were highly impacted by our selected 5% long-term growth rate and 8% WACC. These show that our organic growth will likely decrease within the next 5 years as economies worldwide contract, evidenced by the 7.2% decrease in EMEA sales this past quarter. Tenet is also missing out on the autonomous sector, as its main competitor, Nilfisk, is making their own autonomous model, while Tenet continues to outsource to Brain Corporation, which explains their decreased R&D expenses in recent years. Tenet will face additional risk as it plans to introduce its T7 AMR model, which is a premium product, to the EMEA sector, which is already experiencing decreased sales. Despite this, our analysis predicts that organic growth will return to 7.5% by 2020, as synergies between Tenet and acquired companies are not fully leveraged and will show increased sales growth in the future.
Using a 5% long-term growth rate and an 8% weighted cost of capital, our discounted cash flow model generated a price of $65.10, and our free cash flow produced a value of $103.47. Our price per earnings produced an average of $81.64, and our enterprise value was $81.19, producing a target price of $83.14. We gave a heavier weight to the enterprise multiple because it reflects Tenet's debt structure. We also gave a heavier weight to the price per earnings multiple because it incorporates the projected earnings per share.
Tenet faces several common risks that most of the industry also face. This includes employee retention, which is extremely important when you're engineering these new products in a strong job market, as well as commodity price risk, as they do not buy futures to protect themselves from dramatic price changes. A more particular risk that they are facing is their mainstay ECH2O product, that they market as a superior cleaning solution. Looking at a lawsuit between them and Karcher in 2011 in German courts, as well as an investigation done by the Better Business Bureau National Advertising Division, shows that ECH2O does not perform above nor at a similar level to chemical solutions, and especially faces performance issues in heavy industrials, a mainstay customer that they sell to. Continuing to push this product in the US as a replacement for other chemical solutions opens them up to the risk of more lawsuits, as well as pushing away longtime customers. Another particular risk that we looked at was substitution risk, as we talked about before, because all Nilfisk, Karcher, and Hakko have signed deals with Brain Corporation, the software company that they use for their autonomous vehicles. They will no longer be able to differentiate themselves amongst very similar products, and now with Nilfisk signing an exclusive deal with Carnegie Robotics for their own products, they will no longer have the premium top-of-the-line product for that area. Looking more into the ESG of the company, Tenet looks to be, with their treatment of the environment, the workers in their buildings, as well as the community around them, to be a leader in the industry. They are working to become more transparent by reporting to several formal bodies for specific scores, as well as decreasing their overall greenhouse gases and emissions. They also engage in several social programs, as well as employee benefit programs to make sure all of those that interact with the company benefit from it.
To reiterate, declining sales in the EMEA region, Tenet's ability to cut back on their product portfolio, their unique yet advantageous holistic business model strategy, and the dense competition faced within the automation sector of the floor cleaning industry are all factors that have led us to our hold recommendation with a target price of $83.14, representing a 0.86% upside. Thank you. We'd now like to open up for questions.
So you said that Tenant will no longer be able to differentiate their products based on quality or being the only company with an autonomous machine that uses the brain software system. Did you consider whether or not they'll still be able to differentiate themselves based on service?
I would say the holistic business model of Tenet is an integral part of its success in the Americas in terms of its branding and its quality. So while servicing may be a competitive advantage, the autonomous sector is where a huge percentage of the growth is happening. So if they lose out there, that's a really big deal. So I think servicing can take them to a certain length, but ultimately it's going to come down to who has better technology in a lot of ways. So.
Okay, I see you have a slide listed the IPC acquisition back to 2017, right? And the gross margin was actually down from the previous level. So maybe can you talk a little bit about what's the rationale to do that acquisition and why the margin was down and why the IPC margin is lower than what Tenet has, and then any synergies they're still working on to improve their margin going forward?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last part?
The synergies between the IPC and Tenet, they can leverage to improve their margin, the gross margin going forward. Because the IPC, you have a lower gross margin, right? But after merger, people talking about synergies to improve their operation, the manufacturing consolidation. So what did they say? What did they do for the last couple of years after the acquisition?
I think the greatest synergy would be their client relations that they pick up from that acquisition. I mean, you already have a long-standing customer relationship, so that would be a big synergy. Second off would be navigating the regulatory framework in Europe. You bring in a whole set of individuals who have expertise with that on an international scale. So those two particular pieces I think would be the strongest synergy. And of course, cross working with R&D teams. We don't quite know what that's going to bring yet. I mean, that's still coming into fruition, but.
To go off of that, Tenet alone, their sales structure is 75% direct and then 25% distributor, where IPC's was mainly the opposite. So in those years, we see kind of a fluidity of those two combining might create some chaos within the organization and some other structural costs as well.
Okay, thank you.
What's your estimate of the potential financial effects of the coronavirus?
We expect the coronavirus, if it is a short-term effect on markets, which is what we kind of expect, we expect that Tenet will essentially bounce back to what our target price is. Beyond that, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, especially because the percentage of sales that is in APAC is very small, and as well as the distribution there, we don't expect that to have a huge effect. But in addition, because we have a hold recommendation, we're looking at the long-term effects of this, and we do not see the coronavirus having a long-term effect. A lot of what the market is reacting to right now is fear from the coronavirus itself, and we do not see that having any huge long-term effects on the company and therefore on its actual valuation.
Thank you.
Could you run back to that slide on valuation? Because I know you used 4 different types, and you have that preferred weight, you said, to the EV/EBITDA, and just the PE multiple. So when you were looking at the PE multiple, were you looking at it versus peers? Were you looking at it versus itself over time? Can you give me some color around that?
We did an average, so we took it compared to itself over the last 12 months and the next 12 months, EPS, and we also used our own estimated EPS in that multiple. So it was our expectation for the future and based on the past performance of the company is what we used for that.
1 year basis?
Yes, a 1 year basis.
Okay, but I'm wondering, did you incorporate where it's traded say, relative to the market over longer periods of time, or were you just looking at the most recent 12 months type of multiples?
Yeah, we looked at the most recent 12 months.
Okay. And then on the enterprise multiple, can you just put some color around that?
Yeah, do you want to go back? So we really like the enterprise multiple because it includes the debt structure. That's something that not a lot of the other models necessarily incorporate. So that's why we gave a 35% weight to it, but it's the enterprise value minus the net debt, incorporating in shares outstanding to give us a price. And it's one of my favorite models. I think we're going to see more of it in the future.
You guys didn't comment on your opinion in terms of company has a number of different ways that they can deploy capital. So you're wondering if you could just share your opinion of, I think there's 3 primary ways they deploy capital: acquisitions, dividend, and debt reduction, maybe some stock buyback. But can you just share your opinion of your analysis of, has management done a good job of capital allocation, and if so, how did you arrive at that conclusion?
I was just wondering if you could quickly reiterate the question part of that. I couldn't hear you very well.
Basically, if you've done an analysis of their capital deployment, what was the outcome of that analysis, in your opinion?
I mean, a huge percentage of the capital allocation is towards the acquisition in recent history. So I would say, talking about if that was an effective acquisition, which we did touch briefly on. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Yeah, I would say the acquisition gave them great access to the EMEA region. Before the acquisition, the percent of sales in the EMEA region was very low, but still, Nilfisk owns the EMEA region. IPC is very small compared to Nilfisk. So we see it as a great acquisition in terms of expanding globally, but in terms of competing with top competitors like Nilfisk, there's not really a chance that that's going to happen in that region.
So looking forward, capital allocation between CapEx, dividends, share repurchases, other, what would you recommend to management?
I would say that since they just went through this large acquisition of IPC, they should not focus on that as part of their capital allocation, just because they're still rebounding from the effects of that and from the effects of that acquisition. And this, as we mentioned, the synergies between that are not fully leveraged. So it would be good to see how those come into play in later years and see where Tenet is still missing out and where they could have where they could have more increased acquisitions. But just to answer that question partially, their focus should be less on acquisitions than on the other areas.
Just going back to their involvement with BrainCorp, the risk that you guys have highlighted, you have to imagine that the management team also is aware of that risk. So what do you think their perspective would be if we had called them up here and said, why are you getting involved? Your competitors are involved. It seems like you're giving away potentially a competitive advantage. Why are you doing that? What do you think their perspective is?
Tenet attempted to do it on their own with their software engineering team, and they failed. They couldn't do it. And that's when they outsourced, because they realized we have to make this happen quick, because the growth was happening in that industry rapidly, and they didn't want to get beat to market. So they outsourced to BrainCorp, and it looks like to me that Nilfisk is trying to create a long-term sustainable competitive advantage by investing in an exclusive contract with Carnegie Mellon. So I think from management's perspective, it was by necessity. And I think that they need to react to that within the next 2 to 3 years, 100%.
So is there a first mover advantage from getting the product out there, even if you don't own the technology or develop the technology internally?
Yeah, we definitely think so. We think there's enough growth in this new market for autonomous vehicles that it's going to be essential for their future growth. So yes, we think that's a big advantage for Nilfisk.
Especially since it's a slow-moving industry.